Like if you can't move fast, you're not going to get the asset, as you know.
Yeah, Grant, hang on. Not too many people are going to do what you do. Our audience wants to know how to get started right now.
Okay.
So please be respectful to our audience, okay?
Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Orlando, and we have Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, going at Grant Cardone. These guys are clashing, clashing towards each other, trying to argue with each other about what is the best way to get started in real estate. These guys have a difference in opinion, and it came ahead on Robert Kiyosaki's podcast. So Robert Kiyosaki has a podcast, and we're gonna go over the clips that show how Grant Cardone got really annoyed and how Robert Kiyosaki really, put the screws on Grant Cardone to let him know, like, look, this is the best way to get into real estate. And Grant Cardone really wasn't feeling it. But before I get into those clips, guys, I just want to quickly explain what Robert Kiyosaki and Grant Cardone do. Robert Kiyosaki, he's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He teaches people, how to get into real estate with that book. And he sells all types of things to get into real estate. Do I agree with all the stuff he says? No. Does he have some basic stuff in there? Of course. It was probably one of the first books that I read when I got into real estate myself. Then we have Grant Cardone, which is really a salesman at heart, really. Both of these guys are really salesmen at heart, but let's just go with Grant. Grant is a real salesman. He has Cardone Capital, which basically is a syndication fund, which they take money from you, people like me, people with big money who really don't want to get into real estate that much as far as learning, maybe want to get into passive, and they invest in these huge apartment complexes. Let's look at these clips, and I'll go ahead and put some context on this.
Give me money. It's like you guys could call me and say, hey, I want to put $1 million in your deal, or we just opened this up $1,000. And we're literally changing the way people can invest in multifamily. Because Kim, I agree with you that to think that somebody's going to go raise $2 or $3 or $4 million on their first deal, probably not real, and they probably shouldn't do it.
So let me say this much: is the easy part is raising the money. The hard part is managing the property. And I think that's what people forget.
Okay, let's break this down, guys. Okay, so he is saying that property management, when I'm saying he, I'm talking about Robert Kiyosaki, is saying that property management is super hard. It is one of the biggest things. And this is true because at the very first beginning of it, it's hard, right? Especially if you are running the property yourself, because you don't have any experience in this. When you have zero experience and people are calling you about fixing toilets, doing this, doing that, all on the property, collecting rent, it is hard. That is the reason why I try to let people know, or try to tell people to ask for property management. So you don't have to deal with issues like that. You don't have to deal with someone chasing you down for fixing the property or fixing toilets, things like that. Are you chasing tenants down for money? I preach that all day long. But individuals are for properties where maybe the cash flow doesn't work. Maybe you want to run the property yourself. It is a learning curve, guys. And then we have Grant Cardone, who is saying, raising money, trying to raise money. Now, for individuals that are brand new to this, there is an extremely large learning curve to try to raise money from people when you have zero experience. If you have no experience at all in real estate and you go out and try to ask someone, can you give me $200,000 for a property that this is my first time running it? This is my first time ever doing this. What are the chances do you think it's going to be that you will be able to raise that capital? It's going to be slim. I wouldn't give you my money, so why would you expect someone else to give you money, jump into real estate? Guys like Grant and Robert can do this because they have a lot of experience when it comes to real estate. So make sure you look at that, at the picture. Both sides are talking about different sides of the coin here based on their biases.
To get the deal, you're not going to get, in this market, you're not going to get the deal if you don't have the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So like even in the 26 unit and 30 unit and 80 unit deals, you're going to pay a premium so heavy today to get that deal. This is so competitive now. There's so much money chasing this yield.
No, that's Grant, hang on one second. I'm being very clear with people. I don't recommend that at all. If you cannot manage a property, you don't know the legals, the ins and outs, because you have a contract with your renter. And if you don't perform on your contract and also the renter tears your property up, so just say you can just go and buy a 150 unit apartment house, you can do that, but there's not many people.
Now, this is where things start to get spicy here. We can see Robert basically telling him like, look, I'm trying to explain to people how to get into real estate, how to get started into real estate. You can do the things that you're talking about, investing in these huge, huge apartment buildings, but my listeners, my audience cannot do that. And Grant being Grant is, like, yeah, okay, he is just pitching himself and his product on someone else's channel, right? On someone else's channel, which is troublesome, right? Because first of all, we know you go to someone else's channel and you just need to get value. Don't go on someone else's channel pitching your own products. And that is what Grant is doing, guys. And if you guys don't know, Grant, he makes his money by selling his Grant Cardone or Cardone Capital, and they make money on their fees. That's how you make it, on the selling of the property, refinances, the acquisition. He makes huge fees on getting and putting the deals together, raising the capital. That's how he makes his money, on the fees, guys, on the fees. So if you really look at it, what is he going to have a bias towards? He is going to try to say, hey, don't even try to do real estate. Don't even try to do real estate. Just put your money with me so I can put you in my fund and I can make money on my fees. So initially, guys, it seems like Grant doesn't want you to get into real estate. He just wants your money. He just wants the money. But let's see if Grant changes his tune. Maybe.
Yeah. So that's why to be clear, our message here, Grant, your message is probably different than ours, but to me is the management of the property and making it turn a profit is the hard part today. The raising the money is easy. There's a lot of financing for it. People are going to throw their money at you.
Yeah. I don't know how I don't know that I'd say it's easy. We've raised $700 million. You still got to manage people, phone calls, like it's not. When you say it's easy, it's not easy. Like we do it with no ads, Robert. No, I haven't spent any. I think I spent 50 grand in ads.
Here we go with Grant. He is his quote unquote humble bragging. We did it with no ads. We did it with this. We did it. I got $700 million I've raised and all this. Woo-hoo. Look. Grant should read the room, right? Read the room, right? He should know Robert's audience. Robert's audience is not individuals who want to passively, and this is the key, guys, passively invest in real estate, meaning they don't want to learn how to be property managers. They don't want to actually own the asset. They just want to make a return. If that was the audience he was speaking to, then I would totally get it. But you're speaking to Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, his audience, and his audience wants to get into real estate, learn real estate from the bottom up. They want to build something. They want to own the actual asset, right? And you're talking to these guys like, hey, guess what? Just forget it. Just forget it. Just invest with me. Don't worry about it. You'll get a good return. And he's just bragging about it. Why not just give value? Explain how you got into real estate. Did you get into real estate by just jumping straight into investing? Or did you learn real estate by doing the same things that you're telling people not to do, which is the 1 to 4 unit properties? Come on, Grant. We know better than this. We know the story.
These big guys that we're competing with today, like if you can't move fast, you're not going to get the asset, as you know.
Yeah, Grant, hang on. Not too many people are going to do what you do. Our audience wants to know how to get started right now.
Okay.
So please be respectful to our audience. Okay. Any comments, or Kim?
Well, I was actually.
Did you see what Robert did there? well, this is exactly where it went off the rails here. Robert is telling Grant, like, hey, look, our audience does not want to know how to get into 500 units. Do you know how small it is of amount of people who actually get into 500 units, 100 units, 50 units? Most people are small landlords. My audience wants to know, how can we get into real estate, starting, not become, a mogul, raise $700 million and all this other junk. We don't want that. And he's telling him, be respectful. Be respectful of my audience. He's saying, I'm not playing with you, Grant. Be respectful. And then he doesn't even give him a chance to respond. He goes straight to his wife so that she could add some input. But here's the thing, guys. Grant should know better than this. But Grant doesn't care. We've seen it on multiple situations where he goes onto interviews and he just sells what he wants to sell. He goes onto podcasts and other influencers, videos, podcasts, and interviews and television shows, and he sells what he wants to sell, which is his product. Joining Cardone Capital, he doesn't care about who's listening. He just wants to get 1 or 2, 3, 4, 100 people out of your audience that will invest with him. He doesn't really care about all the stragglers that that want to get into real estate at a 1 to 4 unit level. He doesn't care about those guys. Those guys aren't going to invest into my fund anyway, even though he does say that he has a fund that allows people to start at $1,000. He'll take those guys too, but he really wants people who really don't want to mess with real estate and think it's too hard.
Not being disrespectful to anybody. I'm telling your audience, they're better off partnering with somebody on a big deal than going 1 unit by yourself. Because the problem with 1 unit is when they move out, as you know, you're 100% vacant. And all of a sudden real estate starts to hit some new reality.
So you would start with 500 units at a shot first year?
I started with 1 unit.
No, but are you recommending they partner with somebody on a 500 unit deal?
I would at 1,000%.
See, this is the problem that I have with Grant. He knows he is not telling the truth when it comes to this. First of all, he says himself, he started with 1 unit, but then he is telling you not to start at all. It's not to start at that level, and that he's recommending you to get a 500 unit apartment building before you even learn about real estate. So he's basically saying he wants you to go into bankruptcy. He wants you to lose all of your money. Invest in deals when you have no idea how to analyze them, how to do anything. What sense does that make? He's telling you to do something completely different than he did when he started out that made him successful. That is like someone telling you, hey, I used to do this as a, star basketball player, but you know what? Don't do what I did. Don't practice as hard as I did. I would tell you that you just need to just have a hope and a dream that you'll get into the league. That is ridiculous. That is what he's telling people. He has to know he's not telling the truth on this one, right? And Robert is like, that's amazing. You're telling people to do this. Okay.
Wow.
So
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's a different strategy, because we
wouldn't do that.
The knowledge and the experience and the education that goes with the hands-on management. That's our philosophy.
I would tell people the best thing for them. I don't think you have to go 500 units the first time, but 200 is a great number.
200 is a great number. Listen, guys, 200 units, right? So let's just break this down. 200 units, let's just say that's a $25 million property right there. You have to come up with 25% first, right? 20 to 25%. First of all, most people don't even have that type of money to begin with. For your first deal, That they don't have that type of money. And then you're telling someone that they're going to be able to get the financing for that. And let me just tell you right now, you're not going to get the financing for that. You're not going to get the fight. You know why? Because you have to have experience. And if that is your very first deal, I can almost promise you, as a lender myself, there is no way that I'm lending someone $190 million. $190 million. And this is their first time trying to get into real estate. Your first deal? That is a ridiculous risk that I know the person is going to fail at. Getting into their first deal. He is saying he doesn't want you to learn how to manage, analyze deals or anything. All the things that he did to get to where he is. That just blows my mind. It is because at the end of the day, Grant is going to sell you. He's going to sell you on this fund. He's saying, real estate is too hard, guys. Don't do it. You don't want to do this. You don't want to get into this business. You don't have the learning curve, or you can't deal with property management. You can't deal with chasing down tenants or any of that, or underwriting deals or figuring out if it's a good deal or not. Forget all of that. Invest with me. That is his goal. That is the reason why he's talking crazy like this.
Then start learning about it, because you're not, too many people out there are learning and never actually make an investment.
Okay, so hey, we got to go for a break. Look, I just want to be everybody clear on this. Grant recommends buying a large unit to start with. We do not. You get crucified. So the word is liquidity. I wouldn't recommend starting with a 200-unit apartment house, because you make a mistake. I don't care how smart you are, you'll still make a mistake.
Yeah. So, thank you. And I just want to go back a second. I would suggest that liquidity for people today is a problem. It is not a good thing for people to be liquid, because then they end up losing money. They don't invest their money. They end up buying stuff they don't need. Liquidity finds emergencies.
Boy, oh boy, this is my stuff, guys. I know this like the back of my hand, guys. But look, so Robert is saying that it doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how smart you are. If you're going to jump headfirst into a 200-unit apartment building, and this is your first deal, and you haven't learned from the bottom, you haven't learned on one deal, on a 1 unit that's less risky, you're going to get slaughtered. And he is correct on that. I would never, ever tell anyone, hey, you know what? You need to get into apartment complexes. I own apartment complexes, right? But I rarely try to speak on them, because I'm trying to teach people how to get into real estate, their first rental property, at a bottom, at a starter, at a beginner level. A lot of people don't understand the lingo. A lot of people don't understand the high tier stuff that Grant is talking about. They don't understand that. And so for him to say that someone should start where he is ludicrous and insane. But here's the thing. The reason why Grant is talking the way he is because he is trying to sell you on his Cardone capital. Now, I know I'm beating on Grant as it is right now. I obviously, if you watch my previous videos, I don't really like the sales tactics that Grant does. But obviously it works because he's highly successful. But for me, the Rolexes and the flashiness, that's just not for me. It is for some people, I see, and I understand that, but it's not for me. But what I'm trying to say, though, is you have to look. You have to look and realize and understand what is the reason Grant is pushing you in this direction.
Liquidity is an old Wall Street game so that they can convert money. I want to be illiquid, Robert. Personally, I want my cash to be in something real that I cannot access.
Grant, hang on. So I'm saying, how fast can you get in and out of a bad deal? That's all I care about.
Oh, well, I don't want a bad deal.
Once again, Grant went right back to his sales pitch, and he said, I want to be illiquid and all this other stuff, and saying all of these words that maybe a brand new person in real estate would not understand. He's basically saying that he doesn't want to have any cash on hand because he wants to put it in a hard asset, and then he blames people's behavior on the reason why you should basically invest with him and not go look for deals yourself, because it is super hard and you don't know what you're doing basically, and you should, just give me your money and have me do it yourself. Well, Robert has had enough of it. He has had enough of it. He said, I just want you to tell me this. XYZ at the end of the day. Can you just tell me this rather than continuing to pitch your fund? Please, I ask you to respect my audience. Now, please talk about how you started in real estate, how we can get people started in real estate. That's what we want to talk about. Grant is like, whatever, if you look at the picture, he's got his arms crossed. He's like, look at this dude. He's like, he's just in this realm of, like he's just getting annoyed too. Like both of these guys are annoyed at each other because Kiyosaki wants him to talk about how to get into real estate, and Grant really doesn't. He just wants to siphon off some investors off of the audience.
So are you right now fishing for investors?
No, I close these deals with my cash, Robert.
Okay.
And then I open it up after it's closed to an investor base. We're open to non-accredited and accredited investors. 1,000 to our average non-accredited does about 25,000, but they can start at $1,000.
Come on, Grant. You are fishing for investors. He's fishing for investors. We all know he's fishing for investors. and Robert knows it too. That's the reason why he asked him directly, are you fishing for investors? And he's tried to say, yeah, we buy our deals and then we turn it over to our investors to get them into deals, right? Well, in reality, that's still fishing for investors, because you're not asking for someone to give you money up front for a brand new deal, but you want to put them on your list so that you can possibly say, hey, I got this deal I just bought for $200 million. $200 million. Do you want a piece of it, XYZ consumer? And that's what he wants. He wants to put you on his list so that you can be a potential person who says, I own real estate, but you really don't own it. You own a sliver of the asset. I don't even know if you're able to get all the benefits. Maybe you are, but let me tell you what, you won't get the experience that Robert's talking about, or Robert Kiyosaki's talking about, which is the management, which is learning the ins and outs, knowing your market, knowing how to analyze deals, learning financing, learning all of the things that I try to teach you about on this channel. You won't learn any of that if you just drop your money into Cardone Capital and have it work for you. You won't learn any of that.
Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. Once again, listen to the Rich Dad Radio program anytime, anywhere on iTunes, Android, and YouTube. And all of our programs are archived at richdadradio.com. We archive them because we're a purely educational company. We do not raise money. We don't sell anything.
You see how Robert went on there? He made that statement, which is another poke at Grant, saying, look, we don't sell anything. We're not trying to get you to invest into a fund. We're purely educational, which that's not really true. They sell all types of stuff. Robert Kiyosaki, not off of the Rich Dad Poor Dad thing, he sells courses, this and that, and it just goes on and on and on. There's a bunch of stuff that Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad guy sells. Like, he just sells so much stuff. So for him to come in and say we don't really sell anything and we're purely educational is like, it's like a mix of the truth. I mean, on one end, yeah, they are educational. On the other end, they sell a ton of stuff, guys. So do not get it twisted. He is definitely trying to sell you into getting into real estate and learning about real estate from an educational standpoint by buying his products. So please understand that. That's what's happening on that platform. And at this point, Robert Kiyosaki went to a break, and then he basically came back and Grant was gone. Grant said, I'm out of here. I don't want to be, this is stupid. So he left the interview, guys. He left the interview. So that is the reason why you see Robert saying that we don't sell this and we don't sell that and all this other stuff.
And again, I want to thank Grant Cardone. The message here is that everybody has a different formula. As my rich dad always said, there's a million ways to financial heaven and a billion ways to financial hell.
So once again, he said he thanks Grant for coming on, and he's explaining to his audience that basically, you know, there's many ways that you can, you know, get ahead in real estate. It's just not his way. And this is true. There's so many ways, guys. And I just want to really convey this over to you guys, is that you can get into real estate through flipping, fixing, wholesaling, buy and holds, big apartment complexes, you know, office buildings, industrial. There's just so many ways that you can chop up real estate, and you have to figure out what is best for you. So if you want to get into real estate and you want nothing to do with the property itself, you don't want to learn anything about it, and you want to treat real estate like a REIT, like a stock basically, then investing in like a Cardone capital or something like that, some syndication fund where you don't have to do anything. Like you just have a bunch of money and you want to diversify. You can invest in Cardone capital, and that would be great. There would be nothing wrong with that, because you don't want to touch. You don't want anything to do with real estate as far as the learning aspect and the learning curve. I totally get that. I totally get that. But that is not the audience that Grant was speaking to. He was speaking to an audience that wanted to learn about real estate from the bottom up.
It's the best game in the world, but you have to decide, do you want to be good at it, or do I just want to give real estate my money to somebody like Grant Cardone? And that's the big difference here.
I say this to you guys all the time. Real estate is not easy. It's not something that you pick up and all of a sudden you're just a genius at it, that you can just plop your money into it and it's just going to work for you. It's not that way. It takes education. It takes time. Real estate is just not a fly-by-night type of investment. Is it a great game? Yes, I love real estate. I love it. Is it profitable? It's extremely profitable if you do it the right way, guys. And that is what my channel is trying to show you, is that you can get started in real estate and start at a low level and make money and climb to as high as you want to climb. Does it take work? Yes. Is it easy? No. But anyway, I hope you got value out of this content. I need you to watch this next video here. It will help you get into your first rental property and learn things all financial. Also, please check out my membership program. It's in the description. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.